Episode 301. Has Jake escaped? The car was air-conditioned and it was cold inside. Serena turned off the air conditioner, slowly started the car, and drove on the way home. Just behind her, in a corner where she could not see, a long black Bentley was quietly parked at the side of the bridge. Keith looked at the Bugatti leaving, and anger passed his eyes. But more than that, there was pity in his eyes. However, especially at moments like this, he could not go forward. Jake was still alive. He was still alive. He was his brother, his most respected and admired brother, and he would come back, sooner or later. Because he was Keith, so he couldn't. The Bugatti slowly pulled away, and the black Bentley slowly followed it, in the place she could not see. Until he saw the car going back to the old house and entering the front yard, his eyes became dim. He turned the car around and went home. Captain Henrik was sitting on the sofa, telling the children a story. Seth and Julianne were sitting on the sofa, and Jeremy was studying on the floor with a pillow, all fascinated by the story. Suddenly, the sound of the door opening came from outside. Nola and Carson were watching TV. They noticed the door opened and looked at it. Serena was soaked. Her eyes were red and she looked terrible. Nola was shocked, ushered her in hurriedly and asked, "How come, Serena? Why do you look like this?" "Mom!" Julianne shouted, and Jeremy looked over as well. Serena looked at the children and shook her head at her mother-in-law. Forcing a smile, she shook her head and said, "Nothing. It's raining outside, and I didn't find any shelter." "Then you were crying like this because of the rain?" When Nola was about to say something, her husband gave her a little pull. Serena saw it, smiled, and said, "Father, Mother, I will go shower first." Captain Henrik saw something was wrong at first glance, urging, "Go take a shower. Don't catch a cold." "Yeah." Serena quickly went to her bedroom. The old man sighed quietly, with sorrow in his pair of old eyes. After urging the children to sleep, he walked with his cane and sat in front of Nola and Carson. He said, "Except for the time when Jake had just left us, when have you seen Serena crying like this?" Nola heard his words and her eyes became red. She has been convinced that Jake came to her these days. When she went out, she was depressed beautifully. Would it be? Jake had been dead for more than 4 years. She still acted this way. Poor kid. Because Jake was her son. Nola was secretly against her remarriage, but if this continued, how could Serena still survive? Captain Henrik sighed and shook his head. "I can't let her be like this anymore. Ask Henry to take her to the doctors tomorrow. Henry is also a good kid." Nola and Carson heard that, looking at each other without speaking. Carlito was scared to death. It had been 15 minutes since she called Jake. However, there was no sign of him showing up. This made her feel nervous. Her mind, which had been calm in the 7 or 8 years of undercover life, was suddenly a mess. "Come back soon, come back soon, come back soon. If you don't come back, we'll all be dead." Carlito's heart was racing. There was a sudden noise on the outside, together with the sound of high-heeled shoes hitting the ground. God, so fast. Carlito held his breath subconsciously and pressed the collar hidden under his collar. "Come on, hurry, she's coming." His voice was extremely low, and it was insignificant under the sharp noise of the heels. He tried to calm himself down by taking a deep breath, and immediately his expression was back to normal. Anyway, stall her. Lila's tall figure was coming close. Holding the phone, she was explaining something with a flattering smile. Seeing Lila acting so humble, Carlito had already had an idea. The person that could make Lila act this way was definitely in the management. Carlito slightly bowed. Standing in front of the big iron gate, he called, "Miss?" Lila nodded and said to the phone, "Okay, I confirm it, and then take a video for you. But you see all the fences I got here. How can he possibly escape? Even if he does, he is too addicted to staying away." Someone said something over there, and Carlito didn't hear it. Lila chuckled and said, "That's just speculation. How does that person look like Jake? Jake is the last person to dye his hair and wear a stud. In addition, how can Jake be so strong? You know what the muscles of a drug addict look like. If he had the strength, he would have run away a long time ago. Why did he stay here doing our work? And he failed to run away each time." The person over the phone seemed to be a bit emotional, and the voice faintly came through. "In any case, let's confirm that he is still there.